Hey, and welcome back to Games in Schools. This is Module 1 where we're talking about why we use computer games in the classroom. And in this short video, we're going to be thinking about how do we actually learn with games. And throughout this video, I'm going to be giving you a few short reflections on how I think we learn from games. Some of these ones might not be as obvious as other ones, but this is what I think about when I think about how do we learn from games. First of all, the really interesting thing about gameplay, I think, and how young people learn from games is that quite often games are competitive. And because they're competitive, they give that kind of that social response where young people want to do better. But the interesting thing about gameplay is that quite often games are competitive, but they're competitive in a non-threatening way. Quite often we see in gameplay that the only person that the child is trying to beat is actually themselves, which means there's not the same stigma that is attached, for example, in perhaps a team sport activity where everybody appears to be under the microscope. Of course, internet-enabled games means that we can now be competitive across platforms and across rooms and even across continents. But what we find time and time again is that young people build up that competitive edge and they practice before they start competing with others. So again, it numbs that competitiveness and it allows them to be competitive, but in a non-threatening way, in a safe environment. The other great thing about games is that young people quite often build up relationships with game characters. And if we think about this, this is no different to the same way that very, very young children normally build up relationships with teddy bears or other objects. But what we're doing is we're taking this out of the physical world and we're putting this into the digital world. So young people start to develop relationships with digital characters. And of course, as games become more sophisticated, these digital characters can interact with the children, sometimes in a really, really purposeful and a meaningful way. I'll never forget, for example, when we were doing some of the original work in Scotland around Dr. Kawashima's brain training. And one of the things that some of the participants told us was that actually one of the reasons that they trained and they practiced so hard on their math skills is they wanted to please this virtual professor. At the time, I found that absolutely fascinating, and I continue to find it a fascinating question now. The other interesting thing about games, and I would argue with technology in general, is that it's just highly culturally relevant. Whether you love technology, whether you hate technology, there's something about technology which is highly captivating for children and young people. And this also includes games and digital gameplay, whether this is games on a console, games on a PC, games on a tablet, or games on a mobile phone. Games are incredibly culturally relevant for young people, and therefore they provide a hook for you to be able to put learning outcomes around. And we're going to be chatting more about how we can do that in the next module, which is about games for thematic learning. The other really interesting thing, of course, is that games provide us with a common language. Over the years, I've seen lots of really, really badly dubbed films and television programs, but I've never seen a badly dubbed computer game. In the same way that I've never really seen a badly dubbed animation as well. So games give us a common language across boundaries, something that we can get young people talking to each other about. And once we've got young people talking to each other about things, then again that starts to break down common barriers for other important aspects of learning. And finally, I think that games provide us with a common ground. We know from physical sporting events that games like the Olympics, they bring people together. They unite people together for common good. And we're starting to see games and big esports tournaments do that in a digital space as well. And I really think that games, as well as being important for learning, teaching and assessment, can have a big role in bringing people together and have a wider role in society as a whole as well. Of course, when we think about computer games in the classroom, it's not just about playing computer games, it's about using computer games to reach learning outcomes and for social good. And also, it's about young people making and creating computer games. And in a lot of my work, I talk a lot about creativity. And I do believe that you can teach creativity and that you can teach young people to be more creative, but they have to actually create something. And creating with computer games, I think, is a really, really good way to do that. And we're going to be talking about how we make games in Module 5 of this games-based learning course. So that's the end of Module 1. For Module 1, I've got a really easy task for you to do, is that on Module 1, I want you to think about a game. It could be a game that you played as a child. It could be a game that you play with your children now. It could be a game that you played as an adult. It could be a game that you played in the classroom, such as hopscotch. It could be a board game. It could be a Rubik's Cube or a manipulative, something like Lego. Or it could be a computer game. But I want you to think about a game that was particularly important to you, that you vividly remember playing, or even the one that you enjoy playing now. And I want you to go onto the online forum and follow the link to the Padlet, which is like an online set of post-it notes. And I want you to post a picture of the game, and I want you just to write a few sentences or a few words about what made this game really, really important and memorable for you. How did you learn with this game? Really looking forward to seeing all of your pictures over the next week and also introducing you to Module 2. Don't forget, you can also share your favourite games using the hashtag GamesCourse on Twitter or on Facebook. See you in Module 2 when we're going to be talking about thematic games for learning, teaching and assessment.